Hello, this is Kara from Kara Tarot. I'm recording this on the day that the big, massive death bill was passed. The bill that is projected to increase taxes on the most poor people by 47% within 3 years, while giving more money to the very rich and getting rid of Medicare and getting rid of many programs that care for the children of the poor as well as the poor. And yet, I'm doing this video today mainly just to share some joy. Because I think a lot of us would be crying or going berserk if we really have to take in what's just been done to us as a nation. So I'm going to set that aside. And this is my another hashtag last 10 decks. This is for June 2025. And a lot of these decks are actually decks that I've already shown on my channel, either in a VR or I've shown them by working with them, but I haven't shown them in this kind of format of displaying the deck. So I thought I would start. And I start off with the Lapin Tarot and Oracle. I don't usually get Tarot and Oracle sets, but with this deck, I thought I would. And I do still keep them separate because those of you who know how I work know that I work with these things. I work with Tarot much more than I work with Oracle. So we'll start with lovely hard box. I got this on Etsy from Tabata Tarot, and that is the official seller of this deck. So it has a nice box. Luna Lapin, illustrated by Kanetsart Samonoprat. Stray Cat Publishing and Studio. So the box is very nice. I have mentioned this before. When I got this, it said now within book and English translation. The translation was obviously done either by AI or by a non-English speaker or both, without any English-speaking editor. Some of the things are fine, but then there are some of the sentences just simply make no sense at all. And yet, ironically, because they're not written, they're sometimes very oddly poetic, and that might be the feature of AI, is that the very flowery images that don't make a lot of sense in some cases, don't make linear sense, especially with the Oracle definitions. And so I'll get through all of my gripes with this first. Also with the oracles, they're not in alphabetical order, so you just have to, you either have to go to, you are given a page number for them, the oracle page numbers, but they're not in alphabetical order. They don't make, so they're hard to look up. And you really do need to look them up because they have very, I'll start with the oracle. They have very one-word titles, which if you've seen my video on how I create tarot spreads with oracle cards, This is a great oracle deck for that because a one-word title on an oracle card is really great for creating those questions. But the things like Binky Day, you really need to look that up to know what they mean by that. This is an interesting one. It's either a rabbit diving deep underwater or a rabbit swimming along the surface, and I have read it both ways. The three hares, this is another one you wouldn't necessarily know what that means without their definition. And the deck does come with a certificate. And notice it's 2021. It's not a new deck, so it's but it's new to me. So those are the oracle cards, and the entire deck has this wonderful holographic edging. And then I've worked with it, so it's out of order. But I really do think that it's just an adorable deck. I have to pause here for a minute. My cat was lost, thought he was lost. My cat was calling me from downstairs. He didn't know where I was. So very true to Rider-Waite Smith. Queen of Pentacles. Strength. So incredibly easy to read. So for just the tarot, I don't even need the guidebook. It's sometimes it can be a laugh to look it up and see what kind of mishmash of truncated language it has. And again, as I said, sometimes the phrases are incredibly poetic, which is, and I said before, I think if a rabbit were going to speak, that might be the way the rabbit would speak. Seven of Pentacles. And just lovely differences. Like here we are, the Four of Swords, and it's all gray. It really is like a mausoleum. The Hermit. The Three of Swords. Here's one that's quite different. This Four of Pentacles. And then it's on this barren kind of monument landscape. It's very interesting. Sweet Magician. The cardstock is smooth but not shiny. It's really quite luscious feeling. This is burning bunnies falling from the tower. That's quite a harsh tower. So even though it's sweet, as you can see from that one, it's not sickly sweet. It has kind of a softness, almost a rubbery feeling to it in shuffling. So the English speakers would probably say Luna Lapin. But it's Luna Lapin, which is Luna Rabbit. Moon Rabbit would be the translation. And it's a lovely deck. And I don't have a whole lot of animal decks. I think, I got this for the end of May when I was reading at the Humane Society. This is one of the decks I got because I didn't have a rabbit deck. And oddly, when I got that deck, I saw this deck, the Rabbit Tarot, which again also has an oracle. Now, it comes in different sizes, and the Rabbit Tarot has has a little tiny white book. The larger size, this is what the backs look like, and the backs look the same on all the different sizes. The larger size of this deck has larger cards and a black border. This is smaller than poker size. So this is truly a mini deck, and I think you know me. Mini decks are not usually my thing, but because I really preferred this one, these cotton candy colors, I preferred without the border. The oracle card just has, again, little 1 or 2 word oracle definitions. So I'm just going through them. The Emperor is a great place to stop to show you the suits. Carrots are swords, the twigs are wands, tulips are cups, and these daisies, although they look a little more like jasmine flowers to me, which is fine either way, my favorite scent, jasmine, they are pentacles. So those are the suits. Fascinating. Devil card. The oracle cards are a bit darker in coloration. But and really, these oracle cards remind me very much of Lenormand cards, although there are more of them. But not entirely darker, because see, there we have a very good shade match. Moon and lake. The sun is kind of a good example of there isn't much else going on in these. Sometimes there's just a bunny and not a whole lot else going on. That is particularly true in the cards, which are often a communal card. You can see these are slippy. Although I love that Hermit card. Hermit and Mountain, that's a nice match. But sometimes in the tarot deck, where you would normally expect a group, like the Three of Cups or the Three of Pentacles, there's only one bunny. And I just feel like that's a trick that was missed. Tricks are for kids. Silly rabbit. That's a minor quibble. It's an adorable deck. Sweet to work with. I think the knights are all riding goats. Yes, the knights are all riding goats. The hanged rabbit. There are more Dutch bunnies in this deck, and I have a soft spot for Dutch bunnies and cow cats. The Four of Swords here is peaceful, but doesn't necessarily evoke the same thing. Interesting, Tower and Stone. Interesting pair to get together. So they're definitely reading together, even when I'm not reading. So here, then the Nine of Pentacles. We have some features of the original, and we have the bunny alone, but no bird, no snail. So they're a little pared down. And the pages all have a flag of their suit, which I think is a lovely touch. Oh, and look at that strength card. Strength and forest, both a bunny with another animal. So that's the Oracle deck, and as I said, it has 2 cards with all of the card meanings, although I think these are fairly straightforward. As I said, they're more like Lenormand cards, so they're easier to kind of understand what they are. I was trying to see. 52. There are 52 Oracle cards, so it's a nice sized Oracle. And now I'll continue with the tarot. So here, Three of Cups. I think I figured out and again, the Three of Cups, that's exactly one where you'd be thinking it'd be easy to have 3 bunnies playing together, but it's not. And I think it is the threes that I found a little lacking. I love that. And this deck is nasty bunny knocking those cards over. This deck is from 2014. So again, not new, but I love these, as I said, cotton candy colors, sweet pastels, and I even, look at that sweet death card. Now that's interesting. The Temperance card is holding the sword suit. Three of Swords. And ending with Judgment. So I got this deck purely for its sweetness. artist is Nakisha Vanderhoven, and it's the Rabbit Tarot. Still available in multiple sizes on Etsy. Next, we have the incredibly magical Westwood Tarot, which I have raved about. I have Yasmin Westwood's Tarot of the Enchanted Soul. It is a little peoply for me. And I understand that her Tarot of the, from what I've seen online, her Tarot of the Enchanted Dream is even more peoply. And it's kind of photographic peoply, which is exactly what I don't like. As you'll see, there's a photographic quality to these, even though clearly these are things she couldn't photograph. The Tarot of the Enchanted Soul has fewer people, so I do like that deck, but it made me look up this one, and when I saw that this is just animals and no people, I knew I was in. I love this book. It's here, it breaks down each of the cards, like the Ace of Wands. It tells you the scene, first keywords, light and shadow, first of all, and just a basic paragraph, keywords, light and shadow, the scene, the Ace of Wands in love, the Ace of Wands in career, the Ace of Wands in wellness, the Ace of Wands in finance. The magic of the Ace of Wands, words of wisdom from the Ace of Wands, and then the spirit of the sunflower, which is in the Ace of Wands, and a quote. You know I love quotes. It's just a magnificent, chunky, over 250-page book. The book for the other deck isn't laid out this way, and I really like the way that that book is laid out too. And I've said, if you could put these two books together, you'd have, it would be a hefty book, but wow, it would be just a great tarot book. So studying them together would definitely be worthwhile. And then we have the cards. This, and just high praise for this box in the shape of a book with dragonflies all over it. The lovely, lovely forest backs of this deck. And just here we go. Queen of Pentacles. King of Swords. The Eight of Swords. And it does look as if the door, the cage door, is open. King of Pentacles, a particular favorite. The Magician. The Moon. The very photorealistic lobster there. The Chariot. So we have the zebra is the white and black horse together. Death. The Fool has his little pink bag. A really wonderful Tower card, I think. Justice. It's very hard to see these two lights here. It's hard to make out the scales on this Justice card. I would have liked that to be a little more clear, but that's a quibble. The Emperor. The Hanged Man. The Seeker instead of the Hermit. The Empress. The Wheel of Fortune. The Shadow instead of the Devil. The Sun with a hobby horse. The Star with a unicorn, and the High Priestess. Just a beautiful, beautiful deck, and I will say for me, had I found this first, I might not have gotten her other one. I do like her art style, but I don't know how much I will use the other one with the people now that I have this. And it's not so much that I like animal decks, is that I photo representations of people is usually too peoply for me, even if they are highly costumed and altered, which they are for this one. I was just looking to see if I could find the year will be in the book. I think this is from this year. Yes, this is last year, 2024 is the publication date on the Westwood Tarot. Next is a deck with an animal in the title, but not necessarily animal in the deck. This has become one of my personal favorite decks. I feel like this is the Tarot de Marseille version of my beloved Distant Past tarot. Nice box. This is the Fox's Wedding. Again, not a new deck. This has been out for quite a while now. And I just think it's wonderful. It has a strong guidebook, not a lot written for each card, but you can pause and see that. And this was 2023. This book does not give you any generalities on reading Tarot de Marseille style. So it's not instructive in that, other than it gives you the card definitions. But it doesn't go through and discuss the similarities of all of the ones or all of the twos. It only mentions here. The number of the symbols on each card reflects the connection to the major arcana archetype. For example, the Two of Cups represents emotion, but the emotions of the High Priestess, subtle, intangible, and deep. So that's really all it says about learning how to read Tarot de Marseille style. But I love that this is very classical in its imagery. It is a collage deck, and I love collage. And yet, I've said these, the symbols for the minors seem to come through the mists of time. And then there's a beautiful blending of different cultural influences. So a lot of my collage decks are purely European, much more like this in their references. But this deck includes what appear to me to be Mayan or pre-Columbian, ancient Greek. And then the wands are just fascinating, I think. This beautiful cup suit. Again, a wonderful tower with this reference to, I'm blanking on the name of the Japanese artist. I guess these are works by Gauguin. So we have this other cultural imagery despite the problematic issues with Gauguin. So it's very diverse. I think it's an exceptionally beautiful deck. It is a linen finish, a little slippery, silvered edges, the plain traditional backs. Other than being slippery, it's fine. It is a larger deck. As you know, I like larger decks, so for me that's not an issue. It might be a little hard to handle for some people. If you've watched many of my videos, you know I don't usually bridge when I riffle shuffle. So that's not as much of an issue for me as it might be for some other people. And this would be up near my top 5 now. This, or perhaps in my top 5. So it's just a gorgeous deck. Next is the third of the decks that I've gotten by Carolyn Smith and John Astrup. I've mentioned before their Elemental Tarot was my 4th deck after going many, many years only having 3 decks. It was their 4th deck. I adore their art style. Now the art style of this is the The Moon Oracle that they have is very much of a piece with the art style of the Elemental Tarot. This is not. All of their decks come in these side-by-side layouts. I have not explored this as much. It is the Oracle of the Radiant Sun. Moon Rain is a fairly new channel, and she did just a superb show me how you practice demonstration of how she reads with this deck, because she is also an astrologer, and just for tremendous accuracy. You see, in some ways, these are laid out a little more like Lenormand cards in that they have the sectional references here. They have the word, but then they have other symbols. But she gives about 6 different readings in her demonstration, which is just so clear and really makes you understand what she's doing, how she's doing it, how she uses it, and makes it really feel like you could definitely do it too. You could read that way with it. And she feels that it gives an exceptionally clear reading. This is a bit more Baroque than their other styles. It's more ornate. It has more going on. For me, I will still probably just use this as an oracle card using that main word. Maybe one day I'll do more with the astrological portion of it, which you may have noticed is there. I mean, there are definitely astrological references. Oh, isn't that lovely? Romance. Really beautiful cards. Astrology cards to illuminate your life. So that is the intention of this deck, is for it to be used with the astrological symbols. And their kind of infamous deck drawers. I actually like the drawer system. I just wish it didn't require putting the deck side by side. Oracle of the Radiant Sun. That's my 5th deck. And I have shown this before in another VR, I think it was. It is everything normally that I would dislike in a deck. This is an anomaly for me. Nice box. It comes with 4 postcards. 4, 5, 3, 6. 6 postcards. It does have a little white book, and it is kind of just almost tissue paper. It does talk about each flower or herb and how the meaning of its name and how it relates to the card, and then gives you a phrase or keywords to read with. but it gives you very little else to help you read the deck. Is it still in order? Yes. So here we have, these are the symbols. So if you really want to understand what card you're looking at, especially for the majors, the minors are more easy, but the majors I think are quite difficult. You have to understand that little symbol. So that is the Fool. That, the lemniscate, is for the Magician. The High Priestess. The Empress. Now, look, that's the Emperor. And that is the Hierophant. But let me get out the little book and double check that. Maybe they're out of order. Because I would have thought that would have been for the Hierophant. No, this is the Emperor. And this is the Hierophant. So right away, you see, that's the problem here. I adore this artwork, however. It was the artwork, these beautiful, lush, bright flowers on a black background. The Hermit, little mountain with a light above it. The Wheel of Fortune. Justice. So these little symbols, I think, would make it very difficult to read with. Have a lightning bolt for the Tower. The Star. The Moon. The Sun. Judgment. And the World. So it is the majors which I think are especially difficult to read in this deck. Now here, as we get to the minors, they become a little more pippy, and ironically, for someone who started with Rider-Waite-Smith and found pips difficult, ironically, adding a few little pippy elements makes these easier. That's the Ace of Cups. The Two of Cups. But here, so we have 2 cups, so it's a little easier. We have 3 cups. We have 4 vessels. 5. So immediately these are easier to read because they contain little symbols different in each one of these, which I like that sort of thing. Makes it easier to figure out what it is that you're looking at. That's the Queen. Okay, so then we have the symbols included for the court cards are different for each suit. So here we have kind of a laurel wreath for the page, a helmet for the knight, a belt for the Queen of Cups, kind of a chatelaine belt, and again, a blossoming laurel wreath for the King. And now we move on to the swords. And they can be quite stylized, or here we have crossing blade leaves. A beautiful 3 of Swords. Okay, the page now has a headband this graduated armor for the knight, a crown for the queen, and then it kind of looks again like a helmet for the king. Now we get to the wands. Again, we have different kind of stylized features. And again, the page, we've got this, I don't know what that is, a headdress. The knight, again, the queen, and the king. All kind of golden headdresses for those swords. And now we are at the pentacles, and there seem to be stones or runes or crystals for these. And here, it's kind of bells, I think those are. Tubular bells. Coins. As I said, I adore the artwork, and it's why I broke my rule. I don't normally like these things that are hard to read. So what's that? Is that a crown? Is that a cuff necklace for the page? I guess a sword for the knight, or a cane. And here the queen has a necklace and the king a crown. But lush and beautiful colors, really, and a lovely box. The Botanica Tarot. As I have said before, whether I will ever actually read with it, I'm afraid that once I mix up those majors, I would never be able to figure out what they were. I think I'd have to do a lot of work with majors only work with this deck to figure those out. Next, we have the Da Vinci Codex, the L'Oracle de Vinci. This is in, I think I got this from Amazon France. I don't think it's available in the States yet. So the guidebook is in French. Certainly, it's very easy to use the app on your phone, the translation app, to get the 3 words for each card. If you're trying to do more in-depth reading, it may be too difficult. And then there are sections that are written in reverse and mirror language, which he was known for writing that way in his notebooks. So often, as I said, I only use oracles in kind of the most basic way. So that's how I've used this when I have used this. It comes with this kind of faux suede bag, which is, or not even, it doesn't even rate as velvet. The box is okay. As you see, the guidebook is sizable. over 230 pages. Nice box. But it is the artwork of Leonardo da Vinci being filtered through the artwork of Sandy Tattoo and Voltobeni. So it's kind of combining the artwork of Da Vinci with this kind of tattoo style. So even if you didn't read French at all, you can see, you may not know méfiance, but you would know sécurité and distance. So you would be able to do some kind of reading with that. Gratitude and merci, you would probably know that. Stagnation, mutisme, you would probably, and paralysie, you would know paralysie and stagnation. So it's definitely usable for English speakers. You can see it takes from the great wealth of his artwork, his sketches, his very well-known paintings, and then portions of paintings that you may not be able to identify. I would assume that in the guidebook, they would tell you the source of the original that's being used. Occult, secret, ombre, a shadow. But it certainly qualifies as one of my most beautiful decks. The Da Vinci Oracle, or l'Oracle Da Vinci, or Codex Da Vinci. And Codex Divinati, l'Oracle Da Vinci. I have shown this in a couple VRs. This is by Tarot with Nina. It's a 2024 publication deck. The Alice Tarot, first edition. As I mentioned before, Tarot Map, Saskia, showed the collector version, and I've seen a couple other people show the collector version since then of the full-size deck. The collector version comes with a big wooden box. The cards are quite large. They look to be about this big. And this is the traditional tarot size. And I love large cards, so I really thought about it, but I just decided I didn't need all the other things that came with that collector's box. There's a hard copy book, but again, as with this, it's in Russian only, Cyrillic only, so I can't read it. And because it's Alice in Wonderland, I don't need to. Now, see, here we have both languages. You can't change the past, but you can learn from it. And this is what I love about this, is it is based in Sir John Tenniel's illustrations. So it's exceptionally true to the original illustrations of the book. It's out of order because I have worked with this deck. It is a barely linen finish, smooth finish, but it just has a slight texture to it. And then has these lovely Baroque backs that are reversible. And again, these are not necessarily all his initial, like that is a regular illustration, but it looks as if it's been colorized more than it usually is. And so it's a beautiful melding of the original traditional with some heightened colors and enhancement, but still exceptionally true. I think I have only seen this in black and white, that particular sketch. And so if you love Alice in Wonderland and you love the traditional illustrations, it's a no-brainer. And so I have now this, I have the Dame Darcy wacky Alice in Wonderland version, and I have the Wonderland Tarot, which has been either one of my top 5 decks or close to it for a long time. What I find with a lot of Alice in Wonderland decks is they are snarky. They definitely have their own wacky world, and it comes through in the reading. I've been surprised at the consistency of that in reading with them, that they are sarcastic and just can be a little difficult. But if you love the artwork, and you understand Alice in Wonderland, it makes complete sense. So again, this is the regular tarot size. If you want to see the collector size, again, that was in a tarot map, had that featured in one of her deck viewings like this. Next is a deck that you're much less likely to have heard of. I'm blanking on her name now. Tarot with Marilyn, I'll have it on the screen, did an excellent in-depth flip through of this deck. This is a deck that goes with the book. The Nathaniel Hughes and Fiona Owen. Fiona is the artist. Beautiful artwork, wild enchantments. This will give you an idea. Honoring our indigenous plants, walking the path of healing. Now, as you know, I live in the woods and I do a tiny bit of foraging. But here we have the individual cards, and you can look them up. What would it mean if the plants became our teachers? Radical plant wisdom. Plants can help us weave new myths. This is not a book of cures. It is a book of doorways, lyrical invitations to help deepen your own relationships. So there's a great intentionality here, as you can see in the minis here, and you will see in a moment the cards are exquisitely beautiful. And then it does have working with plants safely, common safety issues, and when to seek extra support. So it's all about different plants and honoring them and using them and rediscovering them, discovering them. It's a lot. This would be a long-range project for me. I am currently just using the cards as oracle cards. Everything about this is luxe, and it arrived incredibly quickly, which pretty much everybody has said. has, so aside from the book, it does have a little white book that gives you the name of each one. And now that they're out of order, you have to look a little bit. There are no numbers or anything on these. The markings on the cards are supposed to be mystical algebra, something like Ogham? Maybe that's the Ogham. I don't. So these are other definitions that. And astrology. So they include runes, Ogham, and astrology. And the kennings are the word pairs, which all of them may not resonate in every reading. And then you also have the planetary significance within each card. So now to the cards with these just gorgeous backs, these midnight sky backs. So this is how relationships with plants come to life, by finding your own dance and your own forms of creative expression. So it's intended for a very open kind of usage. And again, these are not in order. You'll see some of these have gilding patterns on these. I wish I could remember the name for this. Sacred geometry. Some of them have silver, some of them have gold. As I have mentioned multiple times, usually my entree and my beginning use of a deck is the easiest use. So to just look at the card and then find the basic meanings of either the plant or the rune, and then just going with that and associating that with them. Because this is its own system, it's going to take longer to hammer itself into my brain. But just look how gorgeous. I am intentionally using this deck for an Instagram 20-day one-word prompt. And it's as a way of just sharing the beauty of this deck, but also starting to work with them a little bit more. These are ferns, badgers. I think that one is clary, which is not a plant that I knew. This is Wild Enchantments. And this actually is the first of two that I've gotten that, like this one, the book and the cards were with intention created together. And I have another deck that a book came first and then cards were created. And that one also is about landscapes, but I'll be showing that at a later point. Wild Enchantments. And not to end on a down note, or a denouement. This would be the denouement of this novel. I just got another, this was on Etsy, very inexpensive, $26. It's a Rider-Waite Smith deck. And again, I have shown this before. Nice box. A good book. Not the good book, but a good book. Based on the Rider-Waite illustrations and published definitions. 1 card, 3 card, 5 card, 5 card, another 5 card spread. Just basics. But the reason I got this is because it has a black border, black back, black border, and this is matte gold edging, but it was the black border that I really liked. I just think it sets off the black in her drawings very well. As I was saying the other day, I love her artwork. Now, some of these are pixelated. This is a cheap deck. Some of these have a pixelated background. If you can see that closely, you can see the little dots in it. It doesn't bother me. This is a press print, obviously, so in the right light, you can see that impress on the front of the cards. They're lighter weight cards, but they're not bad. I'd say they're kind of normal plain weight cards. Maybe a little less flexible than normal plain weight. Not all of them are pixelated. This is very smooth. But see, like, here's a range right there. This one seems mottled. This one is pixelated. That one seems very smooth, all in those blues. But the colors are rich and clear. So, you know, if you wanted to get someone a beginner deck that looks really nice, here again, we've got pixelated in the background. If you wanted to get someone a nice beginner deck, or you wanted a pretty study deck for a course that requires a Rider-Waite Smith deck, this is a very accessible way to go with the traditional images. These are traditional size, so I have the giant Rider-Waite. I have the borderless, which is a larger size than